Hi there, it's Jacob Gibson. Today is May 5th, 2024. This is my recording for the digestive system portfolio assignment. For this one, I chose to study the enteric nervous system as my topic, and I wanted to explore a little bit more into the long and short reflexes of the enteric nervous system, as well as just kind of some of the general reflexes and how the long and short reflexes kind of play a role in the enteric nervous system. So first off, just kind of classifying the enteric nervous system because it is very hard to do. This is one of the best diagrams that I could find online. So of course you've got your central nervous system, that's your brain and spinal cord, and then your peripheral nervous system is what's gathering information outside and sending it to the central nervous system, as well as receiving signals from the central nervous system. So we can kind of break down again the brain and spinal cord into afferent neurons, which again are carrying signals and just kind of doing the sensory inputs. And then the efferent neurons are what's carrying out some sort of function. Now, efferent neurons, we're all familiar with the somatic motor neurons. Those are your body, classified as your body. We typically associate them with your body. Muscle, or the neurons that help your body, the ones that are under your control. And the digestive system usually will fall under an autonomic system, which is something you can't control. It automatically does it without you thinking. And again, that can be classified into sympathetic and parasympathetic. And then down below here, we've got the enteric nervous system. Now, I don't really like this diagram, but it was one of the better ones that I found. Really, the enteric nervous system, yeah, it plays some, it is definitely innervated autonomically, but it also does have some sensory input. It has its own kind of afferent neurons inside. It really is its own thing. All right, it's not an offshoot of the automatic neurons. It does have some autonomic, or majority, I would say, does have autonomic innervation, but it's kind of all over the place. And so the enteric nervous system really kind of is its own thing. And when you look at the functions of the enteric nervous system, its goal is to kind of coordinate digestion and do those secretions inside, and it can act independently. This is how scientists sometimes classify this one as kind of the second brain. All right, the enteric nervous system has its own neurons. It can receive it can receive afferent information and coordinate actions on its own. So it is, in a sense, its own thing. So going back to the slide here, it's really not just, oops, I can't go back there right there, but it really is not just coming off of the autonomic system. It really is its own thing. And it's a major form of study right now. We know that in the enteric nervous system, serotonin, dopamine, a lot of mood receptors, they play a major role in your digestive system and in the enteric nervous system. So it is a really important system that does a lot of things, and it acts again independently. So looking at the anatomy of the enteric nervous system, there's two main plexuses that we need to worry about, and those are again the bundles of nerves. So the first one is going to be the myenteric plexus right here, and that's going to be located on the muscularis propria. So right here, and that's really those nerve plexuses in the enteric nervous system are going to be focused on movement and that peristalsis. And then internally here, we've got the submucosal plexus. Again, those are just a bundle of nerves. That's going to be dealing with things in the enteric nervous system that are dealing with secretion, blood flow, things like that. So again, there's two really bundles of nerves that we would look at anatomically. And one is in the submucosal, focusing on blood and secretions, and then in the muscle layer there. So that is just kind of a general overview and anatomy of the enteric nervous system. It's just the nerves that innervate the digestive system, and they act on their own. Biggest takeaway so far there. But then we also can classify some of the reflexes that occur in the enteric nervous system as either short reflexes or long reflexes. And this gets into that second brain piece. A short reflex it allows the enteric system to act quickly, provide instantaneous movement in the cell or the muscle, or it can also provide some chemical changes. So in a short reflex, we're not sending information to the central nervous system. It is the enteric nervous system acting on its own. So this is again taken from Silverthorne here. We have some sort of local stimulus inside the digestive system. That information gets sent to sensory receptors, neurons. So this is what I was saying. It does have some afferent neurons. This is where it doesn't really get classified. It should be classified kind of as its own separate thing. And then you got the interneurons, which are that they're taking in and relaying, converting sensory to motor, and then whatever that is sent to do, you may get secretions, you may get movements. It depends. But again, short reflexes are going to be without sending information to the central nervous system. Long reflexes are going to be dealing with central nervous system information. Either the environment is sending some information that's going to affect the digestive system, as well as maybe there might be some information that is being sent from the enteric nervous system back up to the central nervous system, and then it comes back down to the enteric nervous system. But either way, a long reflex is going to be dealing with the central nervous system. So a great example of a long reflex is you're running. Your reflexes, your central nervous system is sending information. Is don't do digestion right now because we need the energy to do the running or whatever. We're running from a tiger or something like that. So the CNS will either communicate to the enteric nervous system through 3 different pathways: the parasympathetic pathway, which is going to be the vagus nerve, or the sympathetic nervous system, which is going to be the prevertebral ganglia. So an interesting thing again about the digestive system with these long reflexes is the parasympathetic. That means it's the rest and digest stage. You're relaxing is actually going to activate the digestive system, where the sympathetic piece is going to inhibit the digestive system. So it's kind of works exactly opposite of what it innervates or it acts in terms of our emotions normally. So pretty interesting information. So these are a couple of reflexes that we see that are determined by the enteric nervous system. The first one is the gastrocolic reflex. Now this is going to both be using short and long reflexes here. So it's going to be sending information from the central nervous system, as well as it's going to be doing things completely on its own. So the gastrocolic reflex, it's basically you're taking in, it's when you're eating food, you take in food, and your stomach, now we don't want to just keep adding more and more food in your stomach, so stomach's got to make room. So the gastrocolic reflex is what kind of empties your intestines, and it'll empty it usually after a meal. So it's pretty common that after you eat a big meal, you're going to have to use the restroom. So again, the parasympathetic is going to stimulate this reflex. It's dealing with that rest and digest. The sympathetic is going to inhibit that. So that's again dealing with long reflexes that's coming from the environment. So what happens here in the gastrocolic reflex is you have these stretch receptors in the stomach. That information, again, what's going to happen is the stomach's going to stretch. That is going to send information to the central nervous system saying we need to contract the stomach and start emptying the bowels. So you get information from the central nervous system. This is then going to also activate enteroendocrine cells, which are going to be kind of more of a short reflex. They're going to sense the contents of right here, what's in the bowels, and they're going to control some of the motility of there, and they're going to be excreting neuropeptides that are going to control motility, so that again, when you eat, you're going to want to empty your bowels before and just get things moving through here. So the long reflex here would be sensing things from the stomach, and the short reflex here would be probably moving things along here. Again, there's a lot of information out there. It's not exactly perfect, but in a lot of these reflexes, both the long and the short reflexes are going to be interacting together. So also just kind of going along with it, you also have another extrinsic reflex. There's three of them. I'll go through real quick. All three is the gastrolaneal reflex. This is going to activate peristalsis in the ileum right in here, and it's going to open the iliac valve. So it's going to be in coordinating with that enteric reflex and the gastrocolic reflex, as well as the gastroenteric reflex coming up next. You're going to have both short and long reflexes here, and it's going to empty again, open that sphincter up there, or that valve up there, and allow food to pass through. Because again, we don't want food just sitting in the stomach. We want to pass things along. So your central nervous system is sending information, and as well as working with the short reflexes, empty the bowels. And then the gastroenteric reflex, this again is going to have both long and short reflexes. Is going to be your gastric motility and secretion is going to be shut off, so we can move things down through the intestines. So again, you're going to have those stretch receptors that are going to be sending information to the CNS, shut things down, and then you're going to start seeing also right here when you have distension. Distension means stretching out of the duodenum. That's going to also stimulate this reflex, as well as changes in pH. There's a few other things. I should say this reflex starts in the duodenum, not in the stomach. My bad on that. But again, it sends information here, shut things off. You're going to have, again, these long receptors here. And then once that occurs, you're going to also have some somatostatin and cytokinin, CCK, that's going to be released, and you're going to have some of those short reflexes that are going to be doing those releasing to shut off some of the secretions that are being made in the stomach and all of that, so we can move things down. So all three of those reflexes coordinate together with both long and short reflexes. It's really, really complicated. That was just a general sense there of everything. I also want to point out that the enteric nervous system, it's not just something that is occurring that doesn't have any clinical significance. There's a lot of clinical significance in understanding the enteric nervous system. I already mentioned earlier, we're studying how emotions are regulated there. We also have achalasia. So achalasia would mean that there is a loss of receptors in the esophagus. Basically, the receptors that tell things to relax. It just sits in this state that's very static. And again, we have to get medicines to get those receptors to unwind or to activate those, so you're not sitting with the esophagus that is just sitting there and not moving things along. And then we can also use a lot of receptor antagonists that are going to be working against whatever is being secreted to help us increase motility, particularly with older populations. They have a problem with a lot of times with digestive things. We're going to be using things to just let things keep moving through. Loperamide, which is a very common medicine, also will act on opioid receptors in the ENS. This will inhibit hormones that are involved in peristalsis, so things can just pass through. So a lot of clinical significance with the ENS. That was a lot of information in just a short amount of time. I could go on more and more, but again, here's just some references I found, the photo credits for the pictures I found on the internet there. So thank you very much, and that is it.